Greetings. Welcome to Wake the Dead. Today we are joined by our good friends William Ramsey and our good friend co-host Hans Utter of the Resonant State. William is our special guest and he's bringing to us more Epstein files. This is part 12 of Satanism Revealed in the Epstein Files. I guess that was the title I was using for. So this is part 12 here, and William very astutely recognized that this is a modern day Hellfire club, and from the history we will learn how this relates and how deep this insight really goes. So thank you, William, for joining us, and thank you, Hans, as well. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be with you guys again. Awesome. And the intro is right. Satanism in the Epstein Files works. It's a working title. And I will start off with one of the victims, somebody who I knew about from like 2019 or 2018. I was aware of her because I had read Virginia Giuffre, rest in peace, her biography from that time, not the one that's been out recently, came out in 2025. But this one, this girl who's here, but she's been giving her story. And this story is from TMZ, but I think it's another insight that ties into what your opening statements were into the theme of a Hellfire Club. So I have a couple of videos to get started, and then my presentation is about the history of the original Hellfire Club, which was an elite club that took place in the 18th century in England, London, and involved a lot of the elite of that time, the wealthy elite. So I think there's a lot of parallels, similarities, analogies, analogous stuff. So, but listen to this. This video is incredible. It's just as incredible, I think, as the one where he's talking about looking into the mirror. Like I have a mirror at the end of his stuff with Bannon where they're talking about Lucifer. I think it's very important. But look, this is one of the women who was abused. So listen to this.
Galena's waiting for you upstairs in the bedroom and she wants to show you something. He immediately began brainwashing me. Had helicopters chase me, cars chasing me. Recently, I saw drones outside of my living room. I sincerely believe that this is what Jeffrey Epstein was truly doing here on this planet. He was bringing back hell on Earth.
Hey guys, it's Jackson with TMZ here.
So right in that one, this is their intro statement from TMZ. She mentions brainwashing, surveillance, which is like Eyes Wide Shut right after Bill Harford goes to the party, and then Jeffrey Epstein bringing hell on Earth. So I think that that's a really important tell. But watch this other video. This is another really crazy video. It's just really something else. And her story is much like, it rhymes with all these other stories. But this is really a tell here that talks about Hellfire and the Satanism that Sean just mentioned.
To read, and he immediately began brainwashing me.
I wish I could find out in this interview, it's about 40 minutes. She never mentions the books, which I think is important because we've gone over those occult books on Tantra, right? And also his slave books too in earlier shows. So people can go check out those other episodes, guys.
And he knew with me, the whole massage thing, give me a massage for $200 thing, would not have worked. I would have walked out of there. He used a different method to manipulate me. He knew that wouldn't have worked on me, so he used art, but I still ended up in that room. And things still happened to me against my will in that room. And there were a lot of other people who I just at this point call them co-conspirators who abused me along with him. He wasn't the only one in that room. A lot of strangers would just show up. I don't want to go into the details because I'll disassociate.
There it is, this common theme of dissociation with the victim. So they're heavily traumatized. So I think he knew about traumatic mind control or trauma-based mind control. Because she's not the only one. There's other people who've used this term dissociation.
And I want to stay in the present, so I don't like talking about the details. By giving me books to read, he indoctrined his ideology, and his ideology was a polygamous empire that he told me he was planning on building. Like it's, you know, in the beginning, I read the books. I thought it was just an idea. I was studying history books. You know, he kept talking about it, and most of our conversations revolved around this harem. And I know, like in other countries, they call it the harem, but here in America, he called it harem. That's why I pronounce it that way. He told me I was going to be a favorite, and I was going to be part of Babylon. So now referring back to the religious artwork that I made, and him telling me I was going to be a part of Babylon. At that age, I had no idea that Babylon is the most grotesque, disgusting, unholy place that is mentioned in scripture in the Bible, in the Old Testament and the New Testament. I sincerely believe that this is what Jeffrey Epstein was truly doing here on this planet. He was building or rebuilding Babylon. He was bringing back hell on earth. Because if you read the Bible,
this ties back into the whole design of the temple, which he designed. Like the Epstein files released this year revealed that he did want this Mamluk temple, this kind of temple from the Middle East, right? He wanted that design. And this is an interesting tie-in too, because she's an artist. If you listen to this whole thing, like I could do art thing, but she studied at St. John the Revelator Church, sculpture. She studied sculpture at this well-known church with a lot of weird art on it. And it was something that she and Epstein talked about. So Epstein saw her portfolio. So she was an artist, and she was, I mean, some of the stuff that, like, she doesn't want to talk about it, but it's bad. BDSM stuff, really bad.
Oh,
you know, the children of
real quick.
God,
Here, wait. The Babylon is where the Talmud comes from. So
the Babylonian Talmud, right?
That's right. Yeah, we saw that behind him on his desk in the bookshelf, and we know that, you know, that's the ideology of these people, and the like that's where the Kabbalism comes from, and that's where the Qliphoth Kabbalism comes from, like the same ancient evil that Hans and I have been talking about, or Hans has been talking about on my show and his show. And here, like even this evil anti-tree of life, the tree of death workings that they're putting on the whole society, right? And to bring back Babylon is to do that, right? To have this Qliphoth magic put upon the whole world to like to turn us into, to demote us and to push us down further from the light of Creator, you know. Kind of a weird thought, but I just want to bring
no, it's not. It's on the money. This is it, guys. This is what he was doing. This is straight from the horse's mouth. She heard it. She was with him. And so what's really creepy is once he got her under his spell or control, then he was bringing in more people, and even strangers, people she didn't know. And when you listen to this whole thing, she was one of the people abused in Manhattan. Like there were abused people in Zorro Ranch or Palm Beach, but the way she describes, like I could do a whole 40, I could break down her 40-minute interview because there's so many details to it, especially you, Sean, as an artist, would find it really interesting because she's an artist.
I would love that. Can you send me the link to this so I can download
yeah,
it?
I'll put it in the link right now. I'll put it in the private chat and this.
Wonderful.
But it's just really interesting because she was right there. She's like literally there. He's talking about Babylon. This is just like there's pieces just coming out, and a lot of these people were not public until recently, so it ties kind of into our FBI intake. Some of these people clearly called the FBI, but now that the public interest is so high, like there's so many YouTube channels with victims I never heard of. Like I know she was around, but I'd never heard her statement until 2026. So yeah. Rena, I think she's Korean. She's of Korean ethnicity, and Jeff Jeff made her. I mean, it gets. You can read the Virginia Giuffre biography, but her and Virginia, like, it's bad. Like that was some of the darkest stuff that I read in Giuffre's very dark biography. Like she had a terrible life, but she intersected with this person, Rena. So. But I think Babylon's very important. it all goes back to what you said. And almost every magician, they're all trying to go back to Babylon, right? So the Babylonian Talmud in this tie-in is very, very important.
Yeah, I just want to say that and sorry for, I didn't interrupt almost, is that I didn't. I have my little cat of nine tails. If I do it, Sean. No, but basically, there was an earlier Talmud. The thing is, during the time in Babylon, what you have is the incorporation of all of these ancient mystery religions, all these ancient mystery cults, these different deities. Astarte. Astarte is very important, right? You also have all of these types of magical practices being incorporated, and the whole science of demonology coming from Babylon and basically being grafted into this potentially, oral, testament. So basically, this is where you see the shift, and you see all of these practices enter into, whether, mostly generally speaking, they're going to be secret. They're not necessarily for the average person in the street, but they are integrated. And all this demonology, for example, even the Shekinah, right? You go to the Wailing Wall, you're mimicking sex with a demoness, right? So this Lilith and all this other stuff becomes very much incorporated. So to bring back Babylon is to bring back this whole potpourri, not only of decadence, but of all of these, active cults of extreme barbarity.
Like the Hellfire Club, right? It's the Babylon was where it was rich elites that were running society by just speaking it out. Like, this is the law now. They had total authority, and they were just abracadabra, making reality with their words. So the most corrupt, evil people are the ones who are writing down the words in this Talmud, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, you can rip off all the Gentiles, and oh yeah, you can rape all the children." Because their moral relativism is like, it's just a bunch of psychopaths arguing with each other on what they should be allowed to do. So really, it's kind of the same as what we have now. The government system now they're just creating it from their immoral perspective, and then when you look at their personal lives, you see they're all doing the Epstein stuff, and the Hellfire Club was doing it, and ancient Babylon was doing it, and like in the times of Noah or whatever, people eating flesh, and like flesh of each other, and total immoral debauchery. Like, I guess we read about this type of stuff in the Bible, right?
All the new information verifies the earlier information. So this is like another piece of the puzzle, much like the mirror and the reference to either scrying or he's the devil or whatever. Somebody sent me something of Trump looking in the mirror, and it's the goat, but you see that double meaning, double entendre, right? So it could be like he's the greatest of all time, or he's literally looking at a goat, which is not a good representation in the Bible.
Or he's looking at a mirror of himself, and he's the goat that the Freemasons are riding in their ceremony. Like, he's just an animal beast that they are on top of, in control of, as they ride.
Right. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay. This Rena I think I've heard of her. This is really interesting. I'm glad you.
It really is. It's a good. It's another thing we could look into, because she's educated. Like, she clearly, somebody paid for her university, and then she's also kind of seemed to be networking this whole art thing that ties into the DeviantArt presentation that I had. So,
and he would build up the women to be like, some of them were just whores or whatever, but some of them he would build them up like Melania was. Like, he created this.
Allegedly.
Right.
It hasn't been totally confirmed yet.
Right,
allegedly.
Right, our opinion. But still,
you're entitled to your opinion.
Right. But at
least at this time, like as of June 14th, 2026.
Right. We're still clinging to freedom. But in any case, like some of these women are built up like this. Like like if you go with the idea that I have about Eyes Wide Shut, like they built Alice to be that, and the Mandy that was murdered, she was a high fashion model. They built her for that, and so it's like they find potential in these children, and they give them opportunity. They'll give them good schooling, and they'll give them to create this valuable thing that they can present to somebody as like a wife. You know what I mean? To be sold. Yeah.
It ties into what you just said, this polygamist empire. So it's almost like these relationships where these guys are pansexual or whatever you want to talk about it, and then their wives are kind of like escorts or what. They're not loyal to them, because Trump is kind of like that. Like in these files, he's like has a relationship with his secretary, this girl, allegedly. But here's the picture of Trump with the goat. People, let me know. This is from Don Jr. It's on his Instagram right now. You can literally go see it. But kind of, you could take this in a couple ways. Right? There he is with the goat. GOAT.
That's great. That's really funny.
So, maybe that's like an insider trend. Let's get back to
Remember that
a peaceful
cartoon,
place, and
The
he
Go ahead.
that weird there's that weird cartoon thing that came out about the goat. It was like before 9/11, had all this like symbolism, and no one knew who made it, where it came from. You know what I'm talking about, right? So that image reminded me of that.
Pet Goat 1 and 2, I think.
Yeah, back at Petco. Yeah, exactly. And so anyways, okay.
So Rena O.
was looking to build the opposite of that, and he told me I was going to be a part of it. And then as he handed me the books from that day going forward, he constantly talked about me having this baby with the Sultan. And he was the Sultan, obviously, in this Babylon world that he built for himself.
Just hearing, your firsthand.
It's really something else. So this whole Babylonian stuff, it goes back to Ishtar, right? That's the whole thing in
Right.
Eyes Wide Shut. And here's the Ishtar star on Little St. James. It's right there. You can see it at the top. It looks like a sundial, but it's really an 8-pointed star.
Huh.
Pointing east, of all places. Interesting. Pointing back towards Babylon.
Yeah. So and Ishtar is Astarte, what Hans mentioned earlier, and she's also Cybele and Inanna and like a bunch of them. But it's the mother goddess, the great mother, the Magna Mater, same from Rome. It's the same idea and it's in the Revelation, the whore of Babylon, the riding the beast. And she's got the cup of abominations, where you have to choose to imbibe in the evil and the filth, right? So that's what Epstein is doing. And when people are choosing to be at the Epstein party and participate, that is the same, that's metaphorically drinking the cup of the whore of Babylon, that ancient filth and debauchery. Ancient, I guess. Well, anyway, it's eternal. But anyway, the whore gives it to everybody. She's like, if you want it, take it. Come drink the cup, and then that's like entry into the Lilith levels of the Qliphoth tree. You know what I mean? Once you, like, when you swallow the drink, it's like it's a conscious act of acceptance, and it's like giving your consent beyond words. It is a consent-based thing that's beyond just like a contract. You know what I mean? You're using your body to do the thing, and it changes the world around you. You know what I mean? Like it all of a sudden, the world inside of you has changed as well. Like it's the whole thing. It goes deep. Like when you think about it, like Jack drinking the drink at The Shining. You know what I mean? It's like he's signing the deal with the demons. So anyway, I'm going kind of off, but still, like it relates. The Ishtar Astarte. Sorry, guys.
It all has to come back. I have to go back and look through everything again, because all this new information, it's like, okay, how deep into the occult and how much from the Babylonian Talmud is really occulted, right? So it's not just some of the goy hatred or the, this kind of stuff, but what else is in there? What else is really in there? Or the hexagram is a magical symbol, man. Like, so it's like, whoa, Jeff it gets super dark. It's really dark stuff.
Right.
And
that's kind of what the Freemasonry is based on, the Kabbalism. We talked about it before with Albert Pike, talking about that, how, Lucifer is the god of Freemasonry, all this blah. But he says that Kabbalism is the basis of their whole thing. And so, even that goes to that same Babylon, Ishtar, those the elite control of the world.
Right. It's interesting that she calls him the Sultan. And here's one of the original. Well, this guy created one of the Hellfire, at least in the English world, Sir Francis Dashwood, with this weird Sultan hat and the eye on the center, right?
Isn't he the guy that wrote above the door, "Do what thou wilt," and that's where Crowley got the words?
Yeah, it was he created the Abbey of Theleme, and he wrote in French, "Ne se voudras," do what thou wilt.
Thank you, William.
So Crowley adopted that.
Your mind is a steel trap. You remember everything. It's great.
It's from Rabelais. And so Rabelais was a monk, ostensibly, but wrote these very strange and very graphic, even you could say scatological, but lots and lots of occult stuff in Rabelais. And so that's where actually the Abbey of Theleme and do what thou wert comes from Rabelais, right? And so
he was not connected. Was he connected to the Hellfire clubs?
No, he was it
was just an abbey.
Hundreds of years before that, but again, he was a monk, but he's sort of like Hieronymus Bosch, that kind of one of these people that produces this extremely outre work in the context of a, generally speaking, highly religious society. So he was, Rabelais was actually protected by certain members of the church hierarchy. But that's the original origin of that. Yeah.
Thank you. Your mind is also a steel trap. Thank you.
But you also see this blasphemy with Francis, with Rabelais, with Eliphas Levi, who's a Catholic priest or a former one. I don't know. But also writing dark stuff on the side. So, and Epstein. So Epstein's interested in these sacred art what's a Jewish guy with crosses and all this stuff, like and all this kind of like Madonna themes and these things. And so you see that current theme, like, and she said, we should maybe I'll reach out to Reno. She has a podcast now, so I think that she's trying to stay public, so maybe she is would be willing to join us. But she says a lot of really interesting thing, that he got off on sacrilege. So these are huge tells like Crowley. So this whole kind of profaning of sacred things was something that he enjoyed, which makes his taste in art understandable, or understanding it with greater clarity, I would say.
Right. Again, we're getting a better look at the mind of this psycho. Like understanding the art is a perfect view for understanding what, and now we see how he's taking an artist and he's enhancing her abilities and creating the perfect wife for him, the Sultan, to make babies with, to breed these super children. Like it's more eugenics, and we're seeing these shows are great because we're really getting into the mind of the person and why is this going? What the heck is, how could somebody, you know what I mean? And we're finally making sense of it for our normal heads. We're from all these different angles. It's really been great. Thank you.
it's really something else. Really, one of the things she says in another part of the interview is that she got the impression it was beyond sex. What Epstein really liked is to turn them, that he got great pleasure from taking something innocent and putting it under his control. I don't remember what she says verbatim, but now that I'm thinking about it again, I'm like, wow, everything she said is really important. I just took about 3 or 4 minutes out, but it was like, so then it's like something different. And then the impression that I'm getting that he was a sex magician too, which validates this tantra books and all this stuff. It's just another component of like, okay, we are dealing with like a high adept, man. This is not like a financier or even a Hebrewophile or some Lolita got person. This is something beyond that, beyond the superficial impression of Epstein.
Well, this goes into, if you look at, say, the Zohar and some of these other types of the Lurian Kabbalah, is the idea of becoming Adam Kadam, right? Which is actually God. So, I've said this many times, but, the Ein Sof is what people would say, think of as God but what it is just primordial chaos. It's crawling chaos. It's just randomness. It's just complete entropy. It's just complete whatever, right? And the Adam Kadam is the risen man, right? So by creating all these children, he literally is trying to fulfill this destiny and become literally like Adam and God at the same time, right? So he essentially will take the role of God, and it's up for this ascension to become God, since God is just the crawling chaos or whatever. And so that's exactly what he was doing, especially with his breeding programs. So I think he styled himself as an emperor of the planet, really, as a living man god, or trying to obtain this state through various types of magical workings, ritual workings, etc. And also sort of the redemption through sin by causing harm to others, taking that energy and using that as part of his ascension, like we talked about, Sean, in the Khilafat.
How many other elites that were on that show, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, how many of them do the same exact thing you just described? Epstein's one, but how many of them are all doing this stuff and, thinking this way and trying to be masters of the universe? Like, oh man, I'm laughing, but really it's
right. It's the network. They're all there. Kushner, Trump, Lutnick are all in they're right central figures in this administration. They're all like very close. Like Lutnick lived next to Epstein. So how many of these people have this idea? And also how many of these ideas have kind of distilled into Trump's psyche or character?
Yeah. Like, the specter of fear always comes when oh no, that guy's the president now.
They're really good at putting these Luciferians into power.
You're right.
Whether it's Bush Jr., Obama, or Trump, or Hillary Clinton. Like, wow.
It's nobody better to cover up the Epstein files than Trump himself. Like, you know what I mean? He's going to work to keep those files covered up. And all those guys that are in the Epstein files, they were like, let's make Trump the president, and that gives them that layer of protection. In Europe, people are getting fired. They're getting put in prison. But over here, nobody gets prosecuted. Nobody even looks. They're just, what? Huh? It's just a bunch of podcasters like us just talking about it. Look at all the immorality. Oh my God, look how immoral and gross. And then the universe just keeps going, and the wheels of evil just keep churning away, and people,
It's interesting you say that, because I don't know if you guys saw this, but the New York Times published a it's like a mini booklet. It's based on a book, but it's this: Inside the White House Freakout over the Epstein files. And I've done a 3-part series about the anatomy of the cover-up. And the first 2 parts I did before this was published on the 10th. But it just shows you the massive cover-up, man. Like they're literally in the like a skiff, this White House Situation Room. You see that? So they're not like, hey, let's just go into the Roosevelt room and chill out. They're like literally in a war room trying to figure out what to do with these files on July 17th, right? 2025. And the stuff on Trump is not pretty, man. Like somebody from the inside had somebody leak this, and it's bad. But they were going to go on Rogan to try to like cover everything up with Vance. These guys' careers are over, man. Vance and Ruby and stuff. They're not going to get past all this.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, but the fact that they actually like did this. Ransom claims she knew a girl in Epstein sex trafficking named Jen. She said she had sex with Trump. So this is a new person. I don't know who this is. I could maybe it's in the files, but I haven't made the connection. She claimed that Jen told her that Trump had a predilection for nipples, and they'd aggressively flicked and sucked hers. Ransom wrote she had seen the evidence when she shared a bathroom with Jen. So this is like first-person evidence, like Rena O. This is the girl who said she was raped 3 times a day on the island, by the way, this Ransom girl. She's from South Africa. They looked incredibly painful as they were red and swollen, and I remember wincing when I looked at them, she wrote. Like, there's a lot of stuff in here. It's really dark. But, man, it's... anyway, this story's not going away. As all these girls come forward and tell their stories, too, you're getting different pieces of how big the network is.
Right.
And it's like it's not just a one location Hellfire club. It's like multi-location, like a traveling carnival of brutality and rape. It's horrible. Just the moving Lolita Express, but
it's all your worst nightmares.
It's incredible. These drops, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, it's so important. Imagine what it's like unredacted.
Right.
They've got to be freaking horrible. It's got to be like a freaking carnage, like just brutal.
You think that Massey's going to survive till the end of his term if he's going to read all those names that he said he was going to read?
I don't know. They got rid of him, though. They all came together and got rid of him. And that was a sketchier election. The only sketchier election is one
well-oiled machine just chopped him away.
They're all gone. All the people. Boebert's next. So Mace, I think, lost her governor bid. Then Green left. And then
Johnson's still fighting the COVID fight, though. He's still there. That's good.
Did you ever see Green where she talked to Trump and she said she told Trump her son's life was threatened, and he said, "Good, she should be threatened."
Wow.
Have you seen that?
No.
Have you seen that?
No.
Have you seen that, Hans? You're muted.
I haven't, but is it verified that, I mean, Epstein said, at least to my knowledge, he said Trump is the most evil man he's ever met in his life, and he's met many evil men. Like, I mean,
how evil is he himself? And he thinks
he's saying Trump is.
He's saying that Trump is more evil than him, and we know how evil Epstein is.
So that's
like I think he said there's nothing good about him. Okay, here we go, guys. This is her statement, guys. This is not me. This is literally somebody who is in Congress. Oh, let me bring that up. Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
I'm reading the note right there. The comment: UFC owner provided girls to Wexler.
So, wow. When we started talking about releasing the Epstein files, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. President Trump will just roll them out on a big cart himself. Stacks and stacks and stacks of the Epstein files, because
this is at the Ron Paul Institute. You can tell in the background.
Yeah,
this is fairly recent. I think this is May 5th. So it's
this was after she's fired.
Yeah, so it's within the last 6 weeks. Yeah,
right.
because obviously Bill Clinton is all in there, and Hillary Clinton. That's what I had been told all along, right? Well, it was the most shocking thing when I sat in a conference meeting and I learned that the president didn't want to release the Epstein files. I was like, what? Yeah, come to find out, he was very much against it. So we kept on trying and kept on talking about it. And then the president told Mike Johnson, no, do not bring that resolution to the floor for a vote. He told the Rules Committee, and Johnson told the Rules Committee, no, you will not mark up any.
Remember, that's the Speaker of the House. He's in on it, guys. That's the right. I've said this before. The right is was behind not releasing the Epstein files.
Right.
These are the Christians, right? These are the moralists, and the left is a bunch of, regressive, immoral sodomites or whatever. It's the right.
But if we have clear eyes, then we can see that both of them they're just as evil. Like, the Epstein files had everybody coming to the island and coming to New York and making babies and stealing babies in Arizona. So it's like I'm glad that you said like it's the right and the left, but really it's the psychopaths, and like the more we look at these brains and understanding them, it doesn't matter what right or left they do. It's still kill babies, do what you're told, take the money, you know what I mean? It's the same. It's the psychopathy, really. So I mean, it doesn't matter. Then this Johnson guy, you can see how he was like placed in that position, and how before he was placed, he was like, oh, we should have one bills that only have one item on them and vote them individually and all this stuff. He sounded so pro freedom, and then he gets in there and he does the exact opposite. I mean, it's obvious, like they all do the same. And yeah, I'm glad he did it, but I'm as an anarchist, I just wanted to bring up this, like it's like the level beyond those, the masks that they wear of left and right is they have, you take the mask off and it's psychopath every time, so they all have that in common, and they work together to please each other, you know what I mean, so that they can all live in this psychopathic wonderland where they can just rape and murder and get money and rule the world. They're all working together, and the idea of left and right is a mind control device to make us broken slaves. So I'm glad you brought that up, William. That's great.
This is from May 9th. I've got the exact date. So this is May 9th, 2026.
Bill in the Rules Committee that will allow the Epstein files
You'll never see this on the mainstream media, is my guess. I don't think it's ever been published.
to be released. And the resistance built and built and built. He told Pam Bondi, don't release the Epstein files. He told everybody, don't release the Epstein files. So we persisted because that's what we promised. That's what we campaigned on, transparency and accountability, especially to pedophiles. How is that complicated? So it got to be such a gigantic amount of resistance coming from the president and the speaker and everyone, the DOJ. I said, fine, I'll do the unthinkable. I'll go over there and I'll sign my name on a discharge petition that all the Democrats are signing their name on. Talk about crossing the aisle. Me, a general in the MAGA army, crossing over to sign my name with a bunch of Democrats. Yeah, I did. Because women were raped when they were 16 and 14 years old. And he was a convicted pedophile, and we knew there were many with him. So I signed my name on the discharge petition. Oh, did I get my name on the naughty list then? Let me tell you. That became a real issue at the White House. Well, I'll never forget it. I was in my office in the Rayburn building, and I got a phone call from the president. And he was at the White House, and he wanted to talk to me about the discharge petition that I'd signed my name on. And he said, Marjorie, you're going to have to take your name off that discharge petition. We can't let, this is a hoax. We can't carry this. This is a hoax. It's a Democrat hoax. And we've got to just put this away and stop doing this. And he said, my friends are going to get hurt. He said his friends would get hurt if we release the Epstein files. He said,
Oh, this isn't the right video. I've got another one somewhere. Hold on.
This is good though. This is,
But like, yeah, she this is another one. You have to watch the whole thing again, just like Rena O,
right.
because she's like she's telling the public, I am in direct communication with Trump. Like that's what she's letting people know.
Right.
Damn, I don't know what I did with that other video. Put it in the wrong file, I think. Shoot.
It's all right.
Anyway.
But
Well,
there's
I
also
mean,
sort of
we can find for ourselves, but go ahead, Han. Sorry.
yeah, there's also, I mean, it's important to understand there's like a glass ceiling in terms of if you're not going to enter into these types of practices and debauchery or whatever it may be, you're going to hit a level where you're not going to be able to progress further, whether it's, the business or the, political, especially the political landscape. People will get assassinated. They will lose their careers. They will be sort of marginalized. And so Trump saying that he has to defend his friends that are guilty of crimes right there is just an admission, right? That there is, might is right? This is a full Nietzschean beyond good and evil paradigm that they live in. And basically, if they can do it, it's good, and that's it. If you try to stop them, then you're evil. That's basically their mentality.
That's Satanism right there, dude. Right?
Yeah.
That's in the Satanic Bible. If anybody gets in your way of doing your will, then you're allowed to kill them.
It's also Liber 77, right? Liber
there you go, too. Yeah, right.
Oh, God. I had that video. It's really disturbing because, let me see.
But
she wrote this. Donald Trump texted me that if my son gets killed, I deserve it because I was a traitor to him. I'd probably get put in jail if I released the text. That's our president. That's the man who says MAGA is everything he wants it to be. That's what she wrote.
Unbelievable. And this, I mean, he's been working with mobsters his whole life. Like, that's how he talks to people. It's sick. And it's not even her. Like, they're not even threatening her. It's her kid. Like, who does that? Oh, God, it's so vile. I mean, evil. Who wants to hurt someone else's kids? I mean, besides total psychopath. It's like, I keep going back to it. But there's some of the first things, like when you're learning the red pill and you're understanding the psychopath is like one of the first steps, because really then everything makes sense. And that's why I'm so happy to go further into this Epstein stuff. And because it's not just, oh yeah, I know. We don't know, dude. Stuff you can't even imagine. Like, we're just fucking uncovering. It's really like we can't imagine because we are not psychopaths, So we have to learn this stuff. It's kind of harsh, but I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah, but it all goes back. Like, these are elite, like, deviant behaviors. Like, you can go back.
Right.
This is Dashwood. They're into sacrilege. This is him. This is Dashwood with the chalice. You mentioned the chalice earlier. These are double meanings. What he's doing is doing a play on St. Francis of Assisi because his first name is Francis. So he calls himself Franciscan. So at first blush, you're like, oh, Francis of Assisi? And he's like, no, Francis of Medmenham, right? So that's like the dual nature, the deception, because you're thinking that it's a religious order. The Merry Monks of Medmenham. He's in a monk outfit, right?
Let me just say, like, this painting, holy crap. Like, so he's got that glass, right? What's he looking at?
He's taking a Trump glance, just like the video we saw of Trump.
I mean, it's right for the listeners. There's like a statue of a woman, and the way that he's seated, his eyes are staring straight into the vulva. There's even like kind of like in the negative space in between the eye and the statue, there's almost like a brighter place where his eyes are looking. It's kind of like less dark. It's kind of weird. Like it almost creates like a line of his vision, like pointing at the vulva. It's really funny. And like behind, there's a snake wrapped around the post and climbing up the leg of this woman. And the woman has no hands on the statue, no will of their own. And they're a statue. They stay there frozen for you to look at, and do whatever. Very interesting.
They're all highly symbolic back then. So they tried to put in all this symbolic meaning into paintings like this, especially the esoteric occult ones like this. This is a perfect example of that. There's
And
absolutely no
his
question.
fingers are very weird. Look how many thumb joints he has. He's got like 10 thumb joints. You see that?
And
I
it's
mean,
also there's
Yeah, that is
scrawling. If
weird.
you
It's
look
really
over his
bumpy.
head, there's something that's either in Greek or Latin. I don't know what it says, but it's even
the,
on the
the
chalice.
dispensers.
And in
Ah,
sorry, in Crowley's thing, you have to remember the doves and the chalice are all very important because the chalice is the feminine, right?
Right.
And it just cups in their abominations or something.
And the
So it's
dove
kind
is
of
the
like that
sacrifice.
sacrilege.
Yeah, right.
If you look on the bottom right, you look at this thing that almost looks like the coiled phallus of what's that god of Eliphas Levi? The Baphomet.
Oh, yeah,
See it on the right? It's like a baby though, but it's under her feet. Is that a snake coming up behind her leg? I don't
It's
know.
a baby. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I thought it was just a post. I thought that
I don't know. I could be
No,
what's
wrong.
wrapping around was
no,
the
it's a
snake.
baby. It's a child or something there.
Wow.
There's like a serpent head coming out of
Holy
it.
crap.
Yeah, so
It's like wrapped around the baby's body, right?
whoever
Wow.
did this, it's the Society of the Dilettante. Remember, this guy is one of the wealthiest people in England at the time, too. So he's super wealthy, like Epstein. But lay dispenser is another word for the exchequer. So he was basically like Plutnik. He is the head of the treasury of England before the American Revolution. So this massive elite corruption took place around 1750s in England. And then the revolution happens in 1776. So all the lead up to all this stuff, the taxes and the stamp tax and the tea tax and all that stuff is by these guys.
Wow.
Right? And people are telling them they're mismanaging it and they're bums and all this stuff. And then you realize they're one of the main reasons why Britain lost their colonies and why we're semi-free today, getting more and more enslaved every day, but still semi-free. We can still talk. Like I've been taken away. And
Right. Well, I mean, we'll still talk after the slavery too. We'll just be in chains and
right there.
Like,
Go.
You know, at least our
Exactly.
bodies will respond to our brains. You know.
We'll be in the chain gang.
Yeah, right. We'll be in the gang together.
Yeah, exactly. They'll chain us up together. But these are really incredible. The pictures tell a whole story themselves. You know, it's just off the charts. This is another telling one. This is the same guy, Sir Francis Dashwood. He's got his priest habit.
What's he got there?
He's looking into. There's the plate. He's got his cross maybe upside down. Another obsession with females. He's got his mask, right? He's got his eyes wide shut mask.
Oh, right.
And that's apparently the Earl of Sandwich looking through some fake halo at the back of his head.
Really?
Yeah, so it's
I
not.
thought that was like a moon or something. Okay.
That's
like
what it said in the depiction.
So that's the plus ultra. That's like the next dimension looking down into our world from above, like the eye of the pyramid. Right?
It's like a porthole, right? It's like a porthole, right? So it's like he's got that. It's like, and that's above the crown of his head. So that's where also he's like, you know, the summoning, right? And since he's becoming he's a vehicle for this entity that's populating himself, right? And there's also the mask. That mask is there, right? So it's like the mask. You know, I think that represents like the identity, changing identity. Then you have that porthole. That's like, you know, he's like becoming a vehicle, right? For that, whenever it definitely looks kind of like a demonic face, that's for sure.
Yeah, it does. Or like old crone kind of, or like at least. And if you look at the fruit, like the pear looks like a woman's derriere. And you know, like this, the whole, what is the platter and the rosary beads are hanging from like this post.
Phallus, maybe pointing at her.
Yeah, pointing at the female, which is like this nymph, like the size of like those large Barbie dolls. Like it's not a normal woman size. Like she's the size of his book. I guess he's reading the book and imagining or something.
He has his hand on his chest, maybe as a Masonic thing. He's clearly makes Masonic symbols, and he knows it at the entrance to the Medmenham Abbey. They had like a statue of Harpocrates, who is the Greek god of silence. So they understood all these classical symbols. They knew.
Right.
Here's the description of the painting. Here it is.
Portrait by William Hogarth from the late 1750s, parodying Renaissance images of Francis of Assisi. The Bible has been replaced by a copy of the erotic novel Elegantiae Latini Sermonoi, and the profile of his friend Lord Sandwich peers from the halo. That's the guy that invented sandwich, right? He put meat and cheese in between bread. That's where we get the
While
name.
he was gambling.
While he was
so
playing
could-
cards, right?
Yeah.
He needed one hand for the cards. Right.
Yeah, it's really a true story. It's all verified. That's his buddy, so it's validated, but it's very ties into Jeff, who on his in his coffee table in the mansion had a book on erotic something. You never saw him with a Bible or whatever. Another hand gesture across the chest that some people call that the lion's paw.
Right.
It would make sense that he's Masonic, considering his wealth.
That's like the second when you get that grip when you get to the second degree, I think. Yeah. Anyway, look at the hair on that.
Here he is later in life.
How can't I have hair like that?
This is 1776. So here's
Right.
the guy involved in the Hellfire Club. He's right there at the center of, the elite in London right around the revolution. He's friends with Benjamin Franklin.
Is that his coat of arms? That guy there, is that
I
his?
assume that's the case. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's assumption, but
Because it's got some stuff going on.
what book is that? It doesn't look. It's too narrow to be a Bible to me.
Right. And it's another, like I was saying, the occultist in the statues that carries the book in their left hand. I mean, that's his right hand, I guess, but I wonder if that has some meaning, having the book with his finger on a page. There's probably something going on that I don't know, but I'll bet you that's some kind of significant posture.
There he is with the sign of Typhon, right? Quivers wine. It's the same themes: the chalice, the Typhon, the habit, the weird hat, the priestly hat, and then a female.
Right.
Depiction
And
of the female.
The blood, the wine, and the starfire of the female, and all the red. They love that stuff. That's all the Astarte, Ishtar.
These are the other kind of people around him. I forgot which lord this was. This is a guy named Wilkes. This is John Wilkes Booth's ancestor.
Wow.
Like literally John Wilkes.
Did they paint him cross-eyed on purpose?
Yeah, no, he was cross-eyed.
Okay,
He's
like,
a legendary author and rake and wit. He was like a member of the Hellfire Club. They used to make fun of him for his cross-eyed stuff.
Okay.
And here's another member of the Hellfire Club. This is Butte. This is like close to the Prime Minister, another Hellfire Club member. I'm just showing these because they're all members of the
I wonder
elite.
what that necklace is, the emblem on that, the pendant there. What is that? Man, I wish we had better resolution, because that will say something. That'll
You
say
can
something.
go look up Butte on Wikipedia because that's where I got this from.
Remember when we did the Order of the Golden Fleece?
I sure did.
They had the fleece hanging from their necklace that was just like that. So like that emblem probably represents his order, whatever. If it not be Hellfire Club, then it's what his family comes from.
Right, ties right back to Eyes Wide Shut, right? These
Right.
are just-
Yeah, with the ermine cloak and all that crap. Yeah.
This is John Wilkes Esquire. Hogarth, who did the painting of Dashwood, shows him with a demonic-looking wig, crossed eyes, 2 editions of his North Britain, so he's a writer, and he attacked all these people. And there's he was just a famous kind of rake and wit drunk. Wilkes before the court, so he was smart. There's this statue in London,
There we go with the left hand. The
member
book
of
and-
Parliament.
yeah. So he's they're saying that he's a member of the occult. He has occult knowledge. And look at with the 1 foot in front, there's some stuff going on there.
I wonder if that ties in also. You have the French Revolution. You have the actual Illuminati order, putting on the liberty, of course. That's he's obviously mocking. That's a great, if you think about the soon to take place French Revolution, liberty, equality, justice, and what did it turn out? I mean, people still think the French Revolution was great. No, I mean it was incredibly barbaric, and just vast, just people just really going insane and just murdering, raping, pillaging, killing. So it was a complete breakdown of society that was installed through people that were part of primarily Masonic orders or Illuminati orders.
People that were in the Hellfire tunnels, and right, these people are the ones that he's talking about that started this. Anyway, I'm sorry. We'll let you keep going.
Well, this is like a depiction of the Hellfire Club. I can't remember who's who in this, but somebody just showed that this is it. There's a woman there.
A poor girl.
Like the guys, Let's see. They're all drinking, so it's like a drinking club.
Right.
This is Earl Sandwich, where we get the name Sandwich. It's true, modern English word sandwich as a food is directly named after John Montague, 4th Earl of Sandwich. So that's it. This is what back in the day, this is what the Medmenham Abbey looked like. Somebody took a picture of or drew a picture of it. That's what it looks now. You can still go through, and that gate leads into the tomb. But back in the day, it looked like a church.
That's
so
you
see the two pillars there, Masonic-looking pillars, maybe.
Right. Well, actually, that goes up. There's an arch between them above. It's just covered in vines. But if you see the three doors, the two on the left and right are blocked up, right, and the middle one. But that's all the Masonic temples have the three doors like that, and even in Da Vinci's Last Supper, the windows, there's three windows like that. The middle one's bigger than the two other ones. We'll see that everywhere. Richard Casaro did a really good book about this, seeing those in all the temples all over the world. He also talked about the God Self icon with the person holding apart two opposing forces, like two snakes and like a fiacus. But anyway, this that just shows that it is a temple and it is a sacred place, and no wonder it's the entrance of their catacombs.
To the profane, it's just a church. This is the classic Masonic architecture, where the external people, it's like, oh, it's a lovely little place with Franciscan friars. No, it's not. They had a mausoleum on there, very ornate. Like this guy built in like a very classical style. I'll show that. But this is what the inner tunnels look like. It wasn't like some kind of cheap thing. Like that entrance is literally on the far left. You would go in, Steward's Cave, Robing Room, Circle of Lord Sandwich I showed, Sarah's Way, Franklin's Cave, Catacomb Children's Cave, which is disturbing as hell. Then, like,
why would they name it that?
You would cross over the river Styx into the inner temple, and that's what's at the Bohemian Grove, right? They cross over with the boat over to the Bullock figure or whatever. So, like, there's all kinds of tie-ins to these other Hellfire clubs and stuff.
I wonder if that. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's kind of it's an alchemical working too. If you look at some of those ancient alchemical things, so this is like an alchemical transmutation, right? Or at least a sort of a referencing that, right? So going through all these different stages as you enter, you go through all these different transformative processes, and you come to that end point where it's just like the prima materia or the gold or whatever. You know what I mean? So it is definitely. It's a full ritual working in the architecture. So it's like a inner and outer working, but also the intersect of Ra, the Steward's Cave, the Cursing Well, the Miner's Cave, the wine store, the triangle, and the triangle is a very important symbol. So I think it's obviously it has a initiatory and perhaps even like a sort of alchemical practical working aspect to it.
Here's the pictures. That's what it looks like. When it's not lit up, you can go there and pay, I think, 10 quid and walk through them today. I don't know what it looked like back in the 18th century. But
Probably spookier with firelight, torch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they did things where like you didn't like the Hellfire Club met, I think, once a month or at certain times, kind of like the Bohemian Grove. But this is an interesting article about him and talks about all this stuff and their blasphemies and earlier writings. There was an Irish Hellfire Club at the time as well. And there's a book, 1925, Lives of the Rakes, the Hellfire Club by Beresford Chancellor. So there's like decent history about the texts that go into this. And I have that. I don't know how in depth you want to get, but this like I guess romantic clef. I don't know. This Chrysal is Adventures of a Guinea. Guinea is a coin at that time. That's what they called them. But this goes into the extent of the Hellfire Club, and you can see that, or the monks of Medmenham, which was where it was during the reign of George II. I don't know if you guys want to read this. It kind of goes in detail. I have about 10 pages, but it is interesting, and it kind of goes into, this is just the introduction to Chrysal, but it just goes into these characters and how it was like. I mean, I think he even writes in this, it's like, where's the other one? It anticipated many of the rites and immoralities of the Parisian diabolists of recent times. So when this book was written, they had this same kind of Parisian Satanists and things like that.
Paris has got old Satanism. It's like it's been there forever. It seems like Paris is one of the most evil places. Yeah.
I'll just read this one real quick, just maybe a couple pages. But Chrysal's the book again. It gives the fullest extent account of the Hellfire Club, or the monks of Medmenham, the society of fashionable reprobates, who in the reign of George II anticipated many of the rites and immoralities of the Parisian diabolists of recent times. In the ruins of a Cistercian abbey at a secluded spot on the banks of the Thames between Henley and Great Marlow, these men enacted an ignoble parody of Rabelais' Abbey of Thelema, or Theleme. The principal harlequin was Sir Francis Dashwood. That's the guy I mentioned at the intro. The buffoon, whom Lord Bute made Chancellor of the Exchequer, though he was reputed to be unable to do a sum of simple addition. After him, the members of the order called themselves Franciscans. So it sounds like St. Francis of Assisi, but they're of Francis Dashwood. In the old chapter house, this crew of debauched wits performed a burlesque ritual founded partly on monastic ceremonies and partly on classical rites and nondescript superstitions, the wildest orgies that could be found in books or invented by their own silly ingenuity. Besides Dashwood, the following were among the members: Wilkes and Churchill, George Bub Doddington, immortalized by Browning as the most abject sycophant of his time, Robert Lloyd, a miserable poet who died in the Fleet, Thomas Potter, whose father, the Archbishop of Canterbury, that's a big title, disinherited him. So Thomas Potter got disinherited by his dad for his dissolute life. Paul Whitehead, the Taylor poet, Sir William Stanhope, Henry Lovibond Collins, Sir John Dashwood King, Lord March, afterwards the notorious Marquis of Queensberry, Sir Benjamin Bates, owner of Medmenham, the Earl of Sandwich, and Sir Francis Duffield. To be enrolled among this set of fashionable sinners was a distinction much sought after by a certain class of parasite. But there was an order within the order, consisting of 12 more abandoned profligates. To be elected to a seat in this sacred number was an honor courted by all. Chrysal describes a sitting of the blasphemous conclave at which Wilkes and Dashwood are rival candidates for election. Wilkes, being rejected, contrives to revenge himself on his competitor by introducing a baboon, painted and dressed to represent the devil, at the moment when Dashwood is engaged in offering a sacrifice to his infernal majesty. There is uproar and confusion, in the midst of which the animal, scared to death, jumps on the back of the startled neophyte, who thinks the demon he has been invoking has really answered his summons. Quote, "Spare me, gracious devil," said he. "Spare a wretch who never was sincerely your servant. I sinned only from vanity of being in the fashion. Thou knowest I never have been half so wicked as I pretended, never have been able to commit a thousandth of the part of the vices which I have boasted of. I'm but half a sinner. My conscience always flew in my face when I committed any crimes. My heart gave the lie to my tongue when I gloried in my vices, and I trembled at the damnation I affected to brave. Oh, spare me, therefore, at least for this time, till I have served thee better. I am as yet but half a sinner. It is not necessary to suppose with some biographers that this is a verbatim report of the proceedings, but it is extremely likely that Wilkes played some practical joke on his aristocratic associates, which rankled in their minds when the profligate Sandwich took him hypocritically to task in the House of Lords for the alleged publication of that obscene parody, the essay on woman, really the work of Potter. So Potter's the son of the Archbishop of Canterbury who gets disinherited by his dad because he's a bum. What must have been the effect of such a caricature of Sandwich and his coadjutors at a time when the country was in a riot from end to end against the cabinet, a cabinet largely recruited from this gang? This like they're literally rioting and they're all bums and they're like in a Hellfire club. It will, Brad. It's like the Trump administration. I'm not kidding. It's not an exaggeration. It will perhaps be a help to the reader to give some brief account of the more important actors in the story, especially of the members of the Hellfire Club, who not only cut a conspicuous figure in the following pages, but were prominent in the life of the time. So this isn't some kind of like gang of people who nobody knew about. These were like notorious figures in politics. Do you want to take over, Sean? Or
Yeah, I'll take over.
Okay, the founder of Blasphemous Order. That's right. Can you read it? Okay.
Yeah, I can read it. Okay. The founder of the Blasphemous Order, Sir Francis Dashwood, was a young debauchee who, like the Earl of Sandwich and other libertines, loved to pose as a patron of the arts. He had been in Italy and was a member of the Society of Dilettanti, right? I guess the dilettantes in Italy. A good story is told of an exploit in the Sistine Chapel one Good Friday, when a service of atonement was being held. Extinguishing the lights, a priest gives the signal for the penitents to bare their shoulders and chastise themselves with a small scourge carried by each. Dashwood was not satisfied with the quality of the self-inflicted punishment and came armed with a horsewhip concealed beneath his coat. Swinging this right and left, he marched up and down the line of penitents who shrieked that the devil was among them. Dashwood got away, but had to flee for his life from the papal territory. When he entered Bute's cabinet, his speeches on finance were received with roars of laughter, and his first budget, with the ingenious tax on cider, raised a storm in west of England. He plumed himself on the title of the worst chancellor of the executor of that ever lived. Next page here. And retiring on his laurels, he sent to the upper house of Lord de Despencer. One much abler, but not less depraved of these votaries of diabolism was John Montague, 4th Earl of Sandwich, celebrated for his ugly visage, his ugly face, and charming manner. Born in 1780 and educated at Eton and Cambridge, he performed the Grand Tour, an account of which, purporting to be written by him, but more probably from the hand of his tutor, appeared posthumously, and on the strength of this experience, he posed as a virtuoso. Returning to England on his coming of age, he at once plunged into politics. Just true psychopath. He's going to jump right into politics. Okay. Anyway, he became a commissioner of the Admiralty and succeeded Bedford as First Lord, at the same time holding a commission in the army, where he rose by regular promotion to the highest rank in spite of the fact that his service was purely nominal. He appears, so he was a member of the crew. They kept giving him promotions, right? He appears to have taken a keen interest in naval affairs and to have had a reputation of conducting his work efficiently. He was British plenipotentiary at Breda, and at the conclusion of the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle, Sandwich was no doubt a man of genuine capacity, but some of the redeeming features of his character, such as his responsibility for the reforms in the dockyards attributed to him, were probably merely the result of his taking credit for the work of subordinates. Owing to the jealousy between the Dukes of Newcastle and Bedford, Sandwich was dismissed from Admiralty in 1751. Until 1763, he held only minor appointments and then came back to this department. The later career of Sandwich was more scandalous than that part of his history pertaining to the present work. As First Lord of the Admiralty, he used the vast powers at his disposal simply as a machine for political jobbery. Jobbery is a word I've never heard before. I'm guessing it's doing bad deeds. He was alleged to have sold appointments, to have embezzled funds, and sold government stores for his own benefit. The dockyards, at all events, fell into a shocking state under his administration, and the fleet grew rotten with neglect, so that many a ship was lost with all hands through the criminal mismanagement of those in office. Wow. The grosser charges have not been proved, but for the general maladministration, Sandwich was undoubtedly responsible. Keppel's failure in 1778 was rightly attributed to Sandwich, whose residence was attacked by the mob. A scandalous revelation that ensued as to his private conduct led to his final exit from the public life in 1782. He died 10 years later. Churchill attacked him fiercely in The Candidate, written when the Earls of Hardwicke and Sandwich were contending for the high stewardship of the University of Cambridge.
It just goes on. It just shows these guys are in positions of power and they're bungling it. They're corrupt. And this is happening around the American Revolution. So I think that these kind of things these characters are in part responsible for kind of a breakdown in the imperial system and colonialism. I think that's fair to say. We can go on.
Do you want me to read the poem there?
If you like to, yeah.
I can read a bit, but no, it's important to see that you have these people with they have no talent. In fact, they're untalented, right? They say, I don't know if you read that, but the saying like Dashwood, like he was the worst. He couldn't even do mathematics, simple figures, and it was like just a comedy of how bad they were at their jobs. So this reminds me of something close to hand, doesn't it? Just a little.
Yes.
I can't think of what.
Seems so familiar.
It resonates in our current state.
Right.
It resonates in our current state. Resonates in the current state of America. How about that?
That's for sure. Okay. From his youth upward to the present day, when vices more than years have marked him gray, when riotous excess with wasteful hand shakes life's frail glass and hastes each ebbing sand, unmindful from what stock he drew his birth, untainted with one deed of real worth. Lothario, holding honor at no price, folly to folly added, vice to vice, wrought sin with greediness, and sought for shame with greater zeal than good men seek for fame. That's pretty good. That's a lot of these guys.
Yeah, if Hans, if you want to read, go ahead. You can take over, scan down, or
Okay,
take it. There's
sure.
a lot of more slides.
Okay, so the essay on woman is said by contemporary writers to have been addressed to this unvenerable Messinas. I can't read that word. At any rate, the assumed indignation of his indictment of Wilkes in the Lords for publishing this poem was Sandwich read with unextinguishable gusto to his peers in spite of continuous protest was characteristic of his shameless cynicism. Lord Chesterfield is said to have penned the following character sketch of Sandwich. The art of robbing vice of its disgust and throwing it around the mantle of convivial pleasure, belongs in a very peculiar manner to this nobleman. I understand that from his youth to the present time, he has proceeded in one uniform, unblushing course of debauchery and dissipation. His conversation is chiefly tinctured with unchaste expressions and indecent allusions. And some have assured me that if these were to be admitted by him, much of his wit, or at least much of what is called his wit, would be lost. The most talented, and if crystals be taken on trust, one of the most vilest of the Medmehem friars was Henry Fox, the founder of the Holland family, born in 1705, son of Sir Henry Fox, an old cavalier, and younger brother of a respected gentleman, Stephen Fox, First Lord Ilchester. He squandered his fortune in gambling and extravagances soon after attaining his majority, and then took refuge on the continent. Whereas Crystal relates he reestablished his finances by becoming the favorite of a rich old woman. He returned to England in 1735 and entered Parliament, distinguishing himself at once by his brilliant powers of debate. He became a faithful adherent of Sir Roger Walpole, who rewarded him with a lucrative appointment, and under Pelham he was made a cabinet minister. He came into conflict with Pitt in repelling the latter's attack on the Duke of Cumberland, for he remained a staunch servant of both Cumberland and his former patron Walpole. Though he entered Newcastle administration in 1754, Fox was anointed having no hand in the distribution of the secret. You go to the next page. Secret Service money, and reconciled for the time with Pitt, joined him in sarcastic criticism of Sir Thomas Robinson. This is more just kind of general, but I'm just going to kind of skim. That's
Shows that these guys, there's a lot of these guys. They back then the media was writing, so they were always writing pamphlets or books, and things like that. Maybe you can read about Thomas Potter. He seems like a real bump. Can you see Thomas Potter there?
Yeah. Thomas Potter, the vicious son of the Dr. Potter who became primate of England, is stated to have been Wilkes' tutor in fashionable dissipation and to have been the principal cause of his ruin. Though a man of Wilkes' strength of mind must have wanted only occasion to be as great a sinner as any of his contemporaries. Potter, Sandwich, and Dashwood were friends of Wilkes at the time when he was living with his wife, a wealthy woman 10 years his senior, whose money he ran through and whom he drove to protect herself by a deed of separation. Dashwood enrolled him among the Medmehem fraternity, where his high spirits, as already related, led him, at least on one occasion, to make his brethren look exceedingly foolish. In the storm aroused by the North Britain, the Medmehem scandal came to light of day, Dashwood and Sandwich turned on their plebeian comrade, and in addition to the proceedings against him for sedition, tried to involve him in the charges of printing and publishing the unspeakable essay on woman, which had been fathered on by Warburton. Wilkes had previously offended Dashwood by lampooning his cider tax. There's not much reason to doubt that the real author of the essay was Potter. The question was very fully dealt with by C.W. Dilk in Notes and Queries, second series, volumes 4, 1, and 2, and 41 to 3. Potter figures in Hogarth's selection, print as the handsome candidate. He was reputed to be on too intimate terms with the wife of Warburton and to be the father of her son. And perhaps Warburton's name was attached to the burlesque note to the essay because of a quarrel he had with that prelate. So basically, he's having an affair with his mentor's wife, and she's having a son by him. I'll let you guys read. It's a little bit.
Yeah, it just goes in that these are very interesting characters. We could talk about this. This is the baboon thing. It's chapter 21. The devil. What does he call it? The devil is degraded to a baboon in his appearance, well accounted for, which restores the mirth and courage of the company, and particularly of Chrysal's master, who exerts himself to recover his character. The appearance of the bedeviled baboon is traced next day to his introducer, who at the instance of Chrysal's master is expelled. Chrysal is the guinea, it's the coin, for presuming to ridicule their rights. Like the superior break up the monastery and build a church. So there's just a lot. I mean, the language is very turgid or whatever. I don't know what you call it. But there's other clubs going on at that time. Beefsteak Club, or the Sublime Society of Beefsteaks, was a famous 18th and 19th century dining society. So these are things, and there's all the same characters: Hogarth, Earl of Sandwich, Wilkes, Charles Churchill, who's not related to Winston Churchill, because I looked it up. And this is about Benjamin Franklin and Dashwood. That's the guy with, all the pictures were taken of him. They had a genuine personal friendship in the 1760s and 1770s. If you remember, they did some archaeological dig on Benjamin Franklin's house in England, and he had bodies underneath there. Who knows why? I
think it was 7 women.
Skeletons.
Yeah, skeletons. It might have been more than that. Maybe it was 12 or something. It was one of those numbers.
The correspondence between Franklin and Dashwood began around 1762. So it was after, I guess, the Hellfire Club was wrapped up or something like that. Franklin visited Dashwood's estate at West Wycombe Park multiple times in the early 1770s and spoke warmly of the experience. In November of 1772, to his son William, I spent 16 days, it's a long time, at Lord Le Despencer's most agreeably, and returned in good health and spirits. I'm in this house at much of my ease as if it was my own, and the gardens are a paradise. That might be an inside tell, because Dashwood designed the gardens to be like a woman's body. So this might be, but a pleasanter thing is the kind countenance, the facetious and very intelligent conversation of mine notes, praising Dashwood's wit, worldliness, and company. Stayed in a guest cottage on the estate. One of the chambers in the West Wycombe caves, Hellfire Caves, is traditionally called Franklin's Cave in his honor, as a frequent visitor. So maybe it didn't close. Who knows? The histories probably aren't fully honest, I would say. This club was most active from the 1750s to 1760s. And there's Franklin. What's he doing with his thumb there? Do you know what the thumb on the chin means?
Oh, right. That's Masonic too, right?
Sure is.
I don't know
what it means.
He's
part of the club. He's part
Right.
of the cult.
Right.
That's what he's saying. And that is a bust of Isaac Newton. So Isaac Newton, they do these looking down. So Newton is looking at, who at the time was kind of like the apex of human reason and logic or whatever. So he's looking down on Franklin. So Franklin, whoever did this, makes Franklin his kind of ideological offspring, so to speak. Anybody want to read this? The portrait of Benjamin Franklin. It's interesting.
Sure. The portrait of Benjamin Franklin was commissioned by Robert Alexander of the firm of William Alexander and Sons, Edinburgh. The impressive beribboned document held by Franklin in the portrait is not a treaty or an act of parliament, but one of Alexander's deeds. The other books and pamphlets suggest the learned evidence brought in support of a wise man's decision. The bust of Isaac Newton, whose gaze is directed toward Franklin, invokes the greatest English voice of reason. The portrait, nonetheless, sits squarely in the broader tradition of enlightenment. The pressure of the thumb against the chin expresses the pressure of concentrated thought. that's how they're spinning that whole Masonic symbol. Okay. The painting has sometimes been called the thumb portrait by Masons to other Masons, and the refracted light of Franklin's spectacles on his cheek furthers the effect. So that's great. Yeah, we do have some good questions. One of the questions earlier wasn't Franklin part of the Hellfire? And so that one was answered already, but we've had some good people.
Johnny says the remains of Franklin's, consisting of over 1,200 bone fragments from at least 15 to 28 individuals, including children, date back to the mid-18th century, the period Franklin lived there.
Thank you, Johnny. Yeah, that's... And Lovely Sheep 9333 says Franklin was a spy. He started the Postal Service to spy on us.
I think he was the founder of the Masonic Lodge in Philadelphia, if I remember correctly.
That's the big one too. I've been there, and it has the 3 doors, and it's amazing, the architecture. I haven't been inside. I had a dog with me. But anyway, and right across the street from that is the largest non-mortar Masonic building, the tallest, which is the Philadelphia Town Hall, whatever I guess it's called. I forget the name of it, but they've got the office in the center. There's a big like sundial type thing, and they're at the Masonic cornerstone. There are all 4 races of the planet enslaved under the octagon, holding up the structure of the building. It's really interesting. There's a lot of symbolism in those buildings, and there's homeless sleeping right outside. It's pretty bad. Philly's pretty bad, but still, I think that's like one of the biggest Masonic in all of America. It's the most important lodge. Anyway,
makes perfect sense. Here's like something from the grotto of the West Wycombe Park. You have those 2 doorways like you were talking about, the portal in the middle, the caryatids holding up the temple, some guy making the sign of Hermes or whatever. You see that in tarot cards and stuff. And he's got that thing in his hand. I forgot what it is.
That's a womb. That's a vagina, right? It's a door of life that we all come, as it says. The door of life. We all come into the world, and what some idle wits have called the same entrance. We all come into the world, but it says he mentions also that Lord Bute had encouraged Dashwood to erect a Pompeian column, a reference to the Temple of Venus at Paphos on Cyprus in front of the entrance. There are in these gardens no busts of Socrates, Emanapodes, or Hempen, a reference to the Temple of Ancient Virtue and the Temple of British Worthies at Stowe. But there's a most indecent statue of the unnatural satyr, the satyr with a goat in the King of Naples collection. So there's a satyr, there's a goat, and it's pretty clear there.
That's Pan. Pan is the satyr.
Yep. Pan, right? The great god Pan. You've got,
But a temple I've mentioned are 2 urns sacred to the Ephesian matron and to Potiphar's wife, with the inscriptions Matrone Ephesiae Cineres Domine Potiphar Cineres. Who's Potiphar? I forgot who Potiphar was. He's in the Bible somewhere. I forgot what he was. this is a really interesting article, but it goes into detail about Dashwood's life and the Grand Tour and how they lived back then. Because Dashwood had the money to go to Europe and go to Rome and all these other places. And so he brought all this stuff back. But there's very parallels between him as a patron of the arts and Epstein. There's just absolutely no question about it. So right. Stuff. I mean, this is just another article. It's really interesting.
Traveling like
different clubs, dilettanti.
The same as Epstein. It's the same.
Yeah,
and his humor is the same, like gross sexual, like owning of people type of thing. He wasn't high-minded, Epstein, and he wasn't a mathematician, but he was still like teaching them math class, Anyway,
Dashwood's a member of multiple secret societies or societies: Society of Dilettanti, Society of Antiquaries, Royal Society, Lincoln Club, the Egyptian Society, the Divan Club or Divan, the Society for the Encouragement of Arts, Manufactures and Commerce, later the Royal Society of Arts, and the Monks of Medmenham Abbey. And it's weird. So it's like the Abbey of Thelema and the Abbey and this weird, like in LA, like one of the big, like kinked out bars with dancers and go-go dancers is called the Abbey. I always thought it was weird. Like it's in the West Hollywood part.
LA has a bunch of Babylonian stuff too in their architecture, right?
It's another story in itself. I mean, there's
right.
Stuff. There's big, like back in the day, those kind of like the Society of Jesters and these other things, they had huge, nice buildings. Like they spent money on classical architecture. There's a good article I found, Life and Times of the Hellfire Club. That kind of is an overview, but it has some of the pictures and some of the architecture. And then this is the doctrine. This is one of my earliest articles, but it just shows Harpocrates. Like I wrote this a long time ago, but it's really just about the motto "Fais, ce que voudras," or "Do what thou wilt," was placed above a doorway in stained glass. So it was there. Like this is old, but it also just shows the theme of all this other stuff.
Didn't the "Do what thou wilt" come from Hazis? What the fuck? Sabah, the guy, the assassin.
I don't know. I thought it was nothing is true, everything is permitted.
Yeah, but it was like it kind of morphed into like with the telephone game into this "Do what thou wilt." I think there was some kind of lineage. I think I remember learning that.
I think it's just maybe a similar sentiment because nothing is real. Basically, it was the son of Hassani Sabah, and so he actually ended up being assassinated because he broke the he basically said time is ended, so there's no more time, there's no more religious law, and so he broke. I think it was Eid, the holy fast, and he just started drinking wine and just basically partying, and said nothing is real, everything is permitted because time is ended. So
right.
the time, this is the end. Like Kiamat means a day of resurrection. So he actually believed that the time itself had ended, and they were in this, and so now there's no more law,
no
right?
morality, right?
And there's nothing is real. In fact, nothing even exists anymore. So, but he lasted just a few years, and he got a knife through the brain or something.
Yeah, but, it's not a good philosophy of life to last long if you're gonna have that motto.
But yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, Rabelais is one of those, again, a little bit, like Bosch, the painter, is a little bit mysterious. Do you know much about him? William? There's not that much written about him. He wrote these books and was sort of a monk that he got in some trouble, but there's not a lot. Did he have connections with esoteric orders? But it sure seems like it, looking at his books.
I vaguely remember Rabelais was known to be part of like a traveling troupe of performers too. So something kind of like medieval times or something weird like that, or
the propaganda of their day.
Yeah.
Right.
But I did quote him from this article. I quoted the histories of Gargantua and Pantagruel. So it's, quote, all their life was regulated not by law, statute, or rules, but according to their free will and pleasure. They rose from bed when they pleased, and drank, ate, worked, and slept when the fancy seized them. Nobody woke them. Nobody compelled them either to eat or to drink or to do anything else whatever. In their rules, there was only one clause, do what thou wilt. So that's out of Rabelais. I guess like that was the name of his play, was Gargantuan Panic Rules. So that's where we get the word Gargantuan.
Oh, really? That's where the word comes from?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was a giant. So a giant in this.
Huh.
The doctrine of science. You want to wrap it up?
No. I've got a couple copies of his book. He was a Franciscan monk. He basically got kicked out for his writing.
Excommunicated.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
The visitor to Medmenham was welcomed by a statue of Harpocrates, the Greek god of silence, as well as his female equivalent, the goddess Angerona. They seem to be there to remind members that they're required to be silent about what goes on inside. I wonder if that website's still up. It was philipcoppins.com. That's where I got that. And then there's Crowley making the sign of silence at the tomb in the Skull and Bones, right? See those two skeletons? They're literally making the sign of silence over a ceremonial font. And then at this is St. John of Nepomuk, who kept his mouth shut and wouldn't divulge the secrets to the queen, and they killed him. He became a saint. And then the Bohemian Club kind of morphed him into their own purpose, like keep your mouth shut. And they made a statue of him, made him the sign of silence. And then they wheel it out of the Bohemian Club in San Francisco to Northern every year. So the Bohemian Club in like the Grove, they move the ceremoniously every year. So it's really something else.
To know, to will, to dare, and to keep silent. That's the rules. Right?
Eliphas Levi's, right? That's the meaning of the Sphinx. Right?
Well, I thought the meaning of the Sphinx was cannibalism. Like
maybe that too.
You know, the rulers will eat you if you disobey. Yeah.
That was the end. We can finish strong, guys. Do you want to finish? I know that Hans wants to go, but this is.
He said 2 hours. I think he's got another 20 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
Yeah, I do. I haven't gotten. I'm a little. I'm doing okay. I've been better, but I've been
okay. Well, we can work around your schedule, but we can finish strong. If you're talking about cannibalism and stuff like that,
let's do
this is a remarkable posting on 4chan. They're mostly crap, but this is like from 2020, and it's called Story Time with the Dead Man. Can you guys read these? You just want to read these paragraphs that pop up. There's like a number of paragraphs from the same guy. And you guys ready for this?
Sure.
Does anybody feel like reading this?
I can't really read it.
I mean, are we going to get kicked off of YouTube if we say this? Like the first line there? I could like censor it maybe. I'm going to
self-censor.
I'm going to off myself tomorrow. I'm also sending 3 packets of copied information to the media, 1 to CNN, 1 to MSNBC, and 1 to Fox News. You all will have to see which one tells the truth about the information they received and who doesn't. I trust 4chan to do this because of our history of releasing legit info in the face of mass media cover-up. Now, we know that the whole QAnon thing was a government operation like that descended on 4chan. Like, I don't know why this dude trusts 4chan. Anyway, I have been a professional driver/security guard for a circle of very wealthy people for almost 8 years. I started by working the door at a private gentleman's club outside of the DC area. From that job, I was introduced to some employment managers for Jeffrey Epstein. Because I had experience as both a cab driver and a bouncer, as well as always overlooking and keeping my mouth shut about the drugs and prostitution my employers at the club profited from, they thought I'd be a good fit to work the weekends for Mr. Epstein. At first, I didn't do very much, definitely nothing important. I would run errands mostly and do anything my manager, who reportedly directed to Mr. Epstein, wanted me to do. So, say the gardener calls out sick one day, it would be me mowing the lawn in his place. I was sort of a floating general helper. Inevitably, I ran into Mr. Epstein now and then, and he was always very personable, enthusiastic. I had heard about his original court case and the rumors and everything, but just meeting this guy made me feel like it was all a lie because he seemed so kind and genuine. I thought he really was just this hotshot money man, like a Bruce Wayne or Tony Stark kind of figure. And I think ultimately that's how he wanted us all to see him. His God complex was, to say the least, very developed.
Right. That's exactly what you said earlier about his God complex, right? Or like
Right.
he was moving towards God. Okay. Then go to eventually I was trusted
Okay.
with bigger jobs.
Eventually, I was trusted with bigger jobs. I think I got a good reputation because I cleaned one of Mr. Epstein's bedrooms one day. There was, to my dismay, a mixture of shit and there's a mixture of shit and cum on the bed sheets. Sorry, YouTube. I dealt with it professionally, and I didn't say anything. I knew by then that someone is always watching. There are cameras in almost every single room, save Mr. Epstein's private office uh, and regular bedroom. He had several bedrooms. That one was his favorite, I guess, his main room. I never mentioned it to anyone, but I still got a thank you from my manager for being discreet. One day, I was asked to go pick up a masseuse from a bus station. I didn't ask her age. I knew better, but she couldn't have been older than 16. I got a really bad feeling in my stomach because at this point, denying Mr. Epstein's tastes would be borderline irrational. I did my job, though. I took her to his house, and a few hours later, I took her back to the bus stop. She was crying, and I didn't talk to her about it. A few weeks later, I did it again. Now the manager tells me that Mr. Epstein would like me to take over all of his various pickups and drop-offs. They called it cutie duty. Effing barf in parentheses. But it was more than just girls. I would pick up drugs and other assorted packages, most of which I had no idea the contents, but as far as I was concerned, the less I knew, the better. I was getting paid very well for the amount of work I was doing. In a given day, I spent 3, maybe 4 hours doing anything that could be considered work. The rest of the time, I either sat in my car browsing 4chan on my phone or inside pretending like I was rich and this was my house. For this, I was being paid $75,000 a year, more than I'd ever even hoped to make my whole life. When I took over doing most of the driving, it went up to $115,000. Every time my job became more illegal, the money would get better. That's his tactic. He knows what people will do just about anything for the right price.
Right, like so it has the ring of truth, like the right price, running drugs. There's a 5-year drug investigation into Epstein, guys. So,
I wonder if that'll go nowhere too, right?
this is 2020. This is before the Epstein files. This is before a lot of stuff came out.
Right. I just want people to know, I guess, call it a public confession because I'm guilty. I guess I don't care that much because I'm going to be dead. I've done things I can't forgive myself for, and I think they'll have me killed anyway. I'm going to do it on my terms. Anyway, Mr. Epstein is very shrewd. He pays you a lot, but not enough for the stuff you have to do, and he tries to find the absolute least amount he can pay you to keep doing it. For me, disgracefully, that was around $150K. I stayed on cutie duty for about 4 months. Then Epstein took a trip abroad and he loaned me out to other family, the Romneys. Man,
You don't have to continue to read
those
this.
Mormons are corrupt. No, but I mean, I can keep going. I just want to take a drink.
Well, yeah, I mean, this may not be true. Who knows? But this is what somebody. Wait till it gets. I mean, we can save it for the next week.
This is great. I mean,
Okay.
if Hans can hang.
It has, I'll go through it here.
Okay.
But it has the ring of veracity, I'd say. It does. I mean, I would say it definitely because people are not, I mean, yes, there's a lot of misinformation out there, but this has the details and the way he's led into it, with the money, and you add more and more of that gradual adjustment. So I vote probably true.
Yeah, it sounds true to me as well. And the Romneys makes it more true. Right? Now, keep in mind, I never met Mitch Romney, and I don't think I even worked for him. I just worked for the family. I reported to an employment manager as usual. I was tasked with driving a young man named Cole around wherever he wanted. Cole was probably 22, and already his license had been suspended for drunk driving. He lived in a huge house out in the middle of nowhere outside Boulder, Colorado. Man, it was beautiful. If I could have stayed there forever, I would have. I suspect it was a vacation cabin, parentheses mansion, owned by his parents, but I digress. Every weekend we would drive into the city. He would get shit-faced drunk and find a woman or prostitute, and I'd take us all back home. Cole was a piece of total shit. If you remember Scumbag Steve, just imagine if Steve's parents were multimillionaires, if not billionaires. You get the idea. I don't know who Scumbag Steve is, but whatever. It's probably a 4chan thing. So one Sunday morning, after a typical Saturday night, I report for duty 8 a.m. sharp, knowing damn well that Cole isn't going to drag his ass out of bed until at least 3 p.m. Here he comes hobbling down the driveway in his socks to my car. He usually texts when he's up, and I come outside and start cleaning up his messes, or come inside. No text today. He comes over to the car as I'm stepping out. He says, hey, buddy, we kind of got a problem, but it's not that big a deal. Okay, what? Here, I can't see anymore. You scroll up.
Sorry.
Okay, there you go. Okay, what? Let's see it. We go outside upstairs to his bedroom. His girl from last night is laying face up, and her mouth open is pooled with vomit. She is most definitely dead. Far as I can tell, she overdosed on whatever combination of prescription drugs they were doing, passed out, puked, and then suffocated on her own vomit. I'm absolutely flipping my shit, and I've got my phone out dialing 911. Cole slaps it out of my hand and tells me to hold on. He says he can't get in trouble because it would look bad on his family. The Romneys. Okay, I said, Cole, I'm from Massachusetts. Like, I hate that dude. So anyway, Cole, you've already been getting into trouble. He says he knows, but not this kind of trouble. He says, I'll get a big bonus if I just deal with it myself. Now, I'm way out here in the middle of nowhere, and the implication from day one of my employment in this circle has been that if I mess up, I might suffer harsh consequences. I know what I did was wrong. I know that, and I am sorry. Okay.
I think it starts
I
here.
see. I asked him what I'm supposed to do. He says, just wait. He gets a different phone out of a drawer and starts making calls. After a few minutes, I'm waiting in the hallway. He's casually pacing around the corpse. He gives me GPS coordinates. 39.982602, negative 105.615416. Say it for all to hear, okay? For a little spot off 111 out in the mountains. I'm supposed to wrap her up, take her there, and drop her off. He said there would be guys waiting there to take her. It's a long drive, and I don't look forward to it one bit. I wrap her up in his comforter. He stops me. Bro, he says. Bro, not bro. Oh, I hate this guy. Bro, not that blanket. That's like the softest blanket in the world, dude. No way. Bro, dude. And he gets me a different blanket from the closet. Fucking real gentleman, Cole was. Okay, He's got an F-150 at the property used for landscaping work. I put her body in the bed with a tarp on top, and then I fill the rest of the back of the with landscaping supplies, fertilizer, tools, etc. I tried to make it look really natural and boring. I'm shitting bricks. I can't believe I'm actually doing this. But he's promising me that if I get busted, I'll have the best lawyers money can buy, and I believe him. She's dead already anyway, and it's unlikely he would even get into my real legal. And it's unlikely he would even get into any real legal trouble, just bad press. So what's the difference? The whole time driving, I'm just sweating right through my clothes. I have to stop twice to puke. When I get there, there's a little dirt spot you can pull off into, and sure enough, there's a black SUV with a Jeep and a Jeep with off-road tires. I'm not about to just assume these are the body people, so I stop and get out and approach the SUV. The window rolls down, and there's a woman who's probably in her 50s and a big guy driving. I don't know what to say, so I'm kind of like, how's it going? Feeling like a complete fucking idiot. She makes a call and describes me to the person on the phone. Then she puts it down and says, "We're who you're looking for. Is it under all that stuff in the bed?" I say, "Yeah. Do you need help?" She says, "No. Take a break." So I walk into the trees a little bit and smoke a cigarette or two. They've got her out and put her in the Jeep within about 5 minutes. The woman tells me to wait 15 minutes before I leave. Then I pull out of the driveway. The Jeep drives further into the woods. I wait maybe 7 minutes, then I leave. I got a text later telling me not to ever leave early again. It was from a blocked number.
Right. Guys, we'll pick this up next time because it's 51 pages. I'll send it to you. It's 53 pages. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I'll send it to you. You can read the rest. And I think we should probably, other than the name of Jeffrey Epstein, excise some of these names.
Shouldn't say Romney.
I think Romney may be bad, but he's not working
Romney,
directly
come
for
on.
Romney, right?
Right.
He's saying he's working for the Romney family.
Right.
There's some other names.
Romney.
Yeah, there's some other names in there we shouldn't mention. So I'll have you guys read it over and we can pick it up next week.
All right. Well, this is really juicy stuff. I mean, but this is all more of the same. Like, what would you expect them to do? Of course, slap the phone out of his hand. Don't call the cops. This is like a Hollywood movie, man.
Right. It's like a cleaner thing, though, right? It's like Pulp Fiction or something, right?
Right.
So yeah, this is really what happens in these elite families. There's a lot of debauchery. There's a lot of blurring of lines, and they don't go through the law. They try not to. So they've got people to handle stuff and all this weird stuff. So this has kind of a ring of truth to me. But
and the Romneys are Mormons. I mean,
but they're rich. They're very wealthy.
That's true too. But I mean, like, not that all Mormons are bad, but I'm just saying, like, that's some really corrupt stuff going in Utah. And I mean, the Mormon Church, there is a hierarchy there, you know. They
safe face. They've got a good public face, but inside some of those families are very dysfunctional, man. And there's a lot of drugs. Like, they have this thing, like, we don't drink and use drugs, but that's kind of like the parents. But I've done shows on Mormon families, man. They're as bad as any trailer park type people,
of course, man. Right.
And if you look at Joseph Smith was not clean, and then some of these other guys, like the one guy in northern Arizona, they kill people. There's that one that's called the Prophet from like Mexico. Like, the guy was traveling around blowing people away. Like, he was Mormon, but he was savage.
The Romneys are in Mexico, and they fight with the cartels. They got guns. They roll in trucks. Like, I saw a documentary. Vice. Yeah. Then they're all in Mexico because of the American law where you can't have polygamy. So all the Mormons ran to Mexico.
Yeah, 4chan may suck now, but there's a lot. I mean, wait till they get into the Epstein stuff. Like, the guy's leaving a lot of information.
So this guy, I want to hear his thing.
I'll send it to you. You can read
great.
Yeah, we'll definitely go through that. No, it's just to see this stuff, and the specifics are important because, I mean, these are actual people, and they're doing this, and they're, and even with the Mormon Church, I mean, Joseph Smith was a very debased and murdered hundreds. He had hundreds of people killed.
Total
even Native
occultist
Americans.
too.
Yeah, and there's higher levels of the Mormon Church that are like occult Masonic ritual stuff, and no one's ever saw his golden tablets, but he was taking mushrooms, and I mean, if you read it, it's pretty funny, but he was tripping.
Right.
It's a known fact that he would go into Masonic buildings. Like he would be inside Masonry. Like there's a book that came out him as the Masonic prophet. And it's like, he was at this lodge. What the hell's he doing at this lodge? So
there's a good friend of mine who's ex-Mormon. Well, she's a good acquaintance on the podcasting. She,
is it Heidi Love?
Yes, Heidi Love.
Yeah, I've had her on.
She's fantastic, and she was actually been attacked. They went hard, and like they attacked her computer. They were going after her family's phones, and like hardcore. She said something wrong about the Mormons. Maybe we shouldn't say Cole Romney's name, but she has a great show where she goes deep into the occultism of like he had this like seal of Saturn that he wore around his neck all the time, and he had like
the
his
seal
magic
of Jupiter.
Jupiter.
When he was
right,
dead, they found the seal of Jupiter with him, which looked like right out of the Solomonic magic.
Right.
And
like
he actually,
right.
Yeah, when he got shot, he said, "Is there anybody with sympathy for the widow's son?" Which is a full-on Masonic cry of distress. Like everybody heard it.
Yeah,
they still shot him.
Right. And the Mormon temple is built like the temple, Solomon's temple. It's built in those same geometry, and when I was looking at that picture you were showing me earlier, or you're showing us earlier, of the triptych and the oval door, the one above that, like the guy holding the wreath or whatever in his hand, kind of reminded me of the bugle guy on the top of the Mormon church,
oh right, no,
he did
Moroni,
right, yeah, right, bugle guy, but he's like blowing a horn, which is different than this character, but it's similar, kind of had the same posture with the dancing.
I think that's what, if I pull up like Crowley's tarot about like that's the messenger, right? That's him.
You mean the magician?
Hermes.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, because the magician has one hand up, like the Baphomet, Baphomet has one hand up, but that's kind of different. The way that the one arm is curved and the leg is curved is kind of like the spiral of the universe, kind of like that painting of Jesus where he's got one hand up and one hand down. Forget who painted it. Michelangelo, maybe. Like the churning of the souls, and anyway, I don't know if it relates at all. And someone said Willahead Rex, Wahed Rex says Jupiter talisman and a Mars dagger. So a dagger is another tool, magic tool. So yeah,
it reminds me of this.
Oh right, yeah, the magician, right? Okay, so that's one of the cards. There were 3 magician cards in the Thoth deck, and that was one of them. That does look like that. You're right.
He was a magician, and also he was a huckster, right? Before he became he was a scam
artist. Snake oil.
Yeah, he literally a snake oil, and also a dowser, and just whatever, and just he would just do any scam available. He would just run it, and he was just like, he'd just get out of town real quick.
Yeah, he was an experienced scammer who had to leave town over and over again, so he'd just go on to the next town like a snake oil salesman.
Wasn't
the early court cases are incredible, guys. We could do a reading on those. Like there was one I met Joseph and he said there were some golden plates about 45 minutes away and he just needed a ride to find them. So I was interested. So I got him in my truck and we went out 45 minutes. We looked around for 5 or 10 minutes. We couldn't find anything. Then Joe said, wait a sec, I got to go see Bob. And then he went and saw Bob and came back 15 minutes later and I gave him a ride back. And after I dropped him off, I realized He didn't want to show me any gold plates. He was just looking for an excuse to get me to take him on a cart to go see his buddy Bob.
Yeah,
so
we
the
should have
gold plates
Heidi
was a
Love on.
means to the end. Yeah,
should talk about the Messiah. But anyway, but that it's very important that we like. He's another one of those magic hucksters. And wasn't Joseph Smith's family was gypsies too, right? I mean, they were like they taught him the magic stuff, and they taught him to.
His mom was into that
Right. So, and she taught him to travel from town to town. Like.
It was a family tradition. It seems like. See, this is what I'm. This is it. What's this? There is some type of person within the tarot. The class. Maybe I'll go to the Waite tarot card. Waite.
Oh, Rider Waite. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the classic. See, this is it here. See, the magician is holding up what I think this guy's holding up here. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Oops. That's it.
Oh, that's not Rider Waite, but that's
I don't
okay.
know what that is.
Yeah. But you're talking about the caduceus.
Yeah, the caduceus. He's holding
Right.
the caduceus. I can't really tell from this picture.
Right.
Anyway, let's wrap it up, guys. We're at the 2 hour mark. I mean, I think we can just do another episode.
Oh yeah, 2 hours exactly. That's
Yeah,
great.
255 listeners. Thanks for all the comments, guys. I haven't been following it at all, but the chat is very active, and
We love that the chat is active. Thank
the
you.
chat is active.
Thank you, guys.
Hope you feel better, Hans.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. You
anybody
want some
ever
wings?
get
My wife said, "What should I do with them?" I'll send them to you guys.
No.
Pass.
No.
Pass. All right, guys, that's episode 12, Epstein Files. The
Epstein
Hellfire
Power.
Club. I haven't gotten to the modern stuff. Like I've got a whole nother set of slides on Bohemian Grove and some of these other. These are kind of modern iterations
Right.
of the Hellfire Club. And we could go back and read a lot of those other articles. I don't know if they'd be worthwhile, but
Well, we know, and what we talked last week about Kushner's new island and all the tunnels. So it's going to be some new Hellfire over there, I'm sure.
if he gets it done, I mean, I don't know. It's not going to be the same because people weren't aware of the totality of what was going on with Epstein's things. It was all silent, but now they know. So people will be like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" Like this whole doctrine of silence may not hold up, but
Let's
we
hope
will
not.
see. We will see.
Harpocrates will not win the day. We will get the truth, eventually.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. We could also look into Rena O's whole story. Oh,
Rena
I forgot to
O
send that over. Yeah.
That would be great. I would like to look into Rena.
I'll send you guys
I
the
found
links
her.
right now.
She's got a website, Rena O EpsteinFiles.com.
Oh, interesting.
And she's got videos that she did. There's there's some good ones.
This is it right here.
I think
For
I
people
downloaded.
who look into it. It's,
Yeah, it's RINAOH
this is where I
EpsteinFiles.com.
got everything. It's Epstein survivor drops bombshell on what she saw from 2 months ago, TMZ. So you can just do that.
Okay. Yeah, please, because I want to download that and save it in the files with this episode.
Well worth your time. There's no question about it. That is a whopper of an interview. Babylon, the art stuff, the patron of the arts that ties right into Dashwood. Like these are really obvious connections, this high living rich person and debaucheries and all that stuff. And I don't know, you don't hear too many stories about these guys tripping on drugs and stuff like that, but there's drugs going around, and that's what this final 4chan thread is saying, that there's this other environment of drug usage going on.
Makes sense. I mean, they got to incapacitate the women. Remember, like the Tav and the other ones, the brothers, they were talking about MDMA and mushrooms, not the other one, because then they get to they remember and
Alexander Brothers, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Till next time. Hope you feel better, Sean and Hans. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I feel great. I'm great.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you all for listening. And everybody, please visit WilliamRamseyInvestigates.com. And as well, please visit HansUtter.com and the Resonant State on all of the podcasters. And thank you for listening to Wake the Dead. And you'll find Wake the Dead in all the places. And thank you all for listening.
Until next time, there will be a part 2. I'll send you guys that document.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay.